Hello and welcome to Super Nintendo Classics. In this installment, I'm talking about Ninja Gaiden Trilogy, released by Tecmo in 1995. Ninja Gaiden Trilogy is a rather obscure title that most people probably have never even heard of. As such, this is a rare title that carries quite a premium these days, selling well over $100 for even a loose cartridge. Ninja Gaiden Trilogy is a collection of 3 Ninja Gaiden games for the NES, all done by Tecmo between 1989 to 1991. The titles in those games are all extremely difficult 8-bit platformers, and they all had no sort of password save. So for this installment, they included a new continue feature, which allows you to input a password to resume your game at a stage that you want to start the game not from scratch, like you would have to do for the NES games. This is a rather interesting collection, so let's get into this. So, of course, as mentioned, you have Ninja Gaiden 2, and Ninja Gaiden 3. These are not actually on the level of most Super Nintendo games, and a lot of people complained about that when this game was first released. Instead, these are more like Master System ports of the original NES games. Slightly better than the NES could do, but certainly not on the same caliber as what the 16-bit platformers were mostly known for. So let's get into Ninja Gaiden 1 here, and I'll show you what I mean. So we got Ninja Gaiden, of course. The music is, standard Super Nintendo flair, but the visuals are essentially just slightly updated NES visuals. For a retro gamer, this is not really that big of a deal, but it is very strange that, these games weren't like completely remade for the Super Nintendo as opposed to just being, slightly up-resed or something. A sticking point that some people might have with this collection is the control. Tecmo did a literal basis for the controls by using the B and A buttons of the Super Nintendo controller as opposed to the Super Nintendo's Y and B button, which is the typical 2 buttons that are used for the Super Nintendo games. This is not really a big deal to me, but some people, it really will be off-putting since you can't use the Y button. If you try and use the Y button, you'll just get nothing. Only the B button does something, and that does your basic attack. Of course, Ninja Gaiden was pretty famous for its introduction of its Tecmo Theater mode, which was a way of doing cutscenes in games before they were really that prevalent. Political correctness. Alright, let's restart, and let's get into Ninja Gaiden 2. Ninja Gaiden 2 is one of my favorite NES games of all time. I think this is one of the best games for the system, bar none. So, for it to appear on the Super Nintendo, I had high hopes for it. In all honesty, I don't think the music is quite as good as the NES original. Maybe it's just because I'm more familiar with the NES, soundtracks for the games, but I just think that something's lost when you do the 16-bit versions. Alright, so let's play some Ninja Gaiden 2. Of course, this is the sequel to the original Ninja Gaiden, so you have a few more moves now that you can do, while the gameplay is mostly the same, and it's just fantastic. These kind of games are definitely not noobly friendly. You have to be, you know, fairly proficient at your retro gaming skills to enjoy these kind of games. You know, I've been playing these games for 20 years and I'm still no good at them. But every time I play this game, I can't help but think this belongs on the Master System and not the Super Nintendo. It just feels like a Master System game. Alright. Now let's get into Ninja Gaiden 3. Of course, Ninja Gaiden 3 was released in the tail end of the NES's life. 1991 was the transitional year between the NES and the Super Nintendo. So this was a year when a lot of people were still picking up new NES games, but it was starting to taper off. And to make new experiences, companies were trying to come up with, you know, bigger and better games, still on the original hardware, to do something that couldn't be done before. Ninja Gaiden 3 sort of ups the ante by including these little voice samples that whenever you swing your sword, Ryu will now make a little sound, and it's just a little touch. The gameplay is a little bit tighter, and, you know, overall it's just same Ninja Gaiden formula, except, you know, better game, bigger game. For some reason, the North American release of Ninja Gaiden 3 is actually harder than its Japanese counterpart. It's one of those bizarre situations where I don't know what they were thinking, but whatever. This version seems to rebalance the difficulty again, to make it a little bit easier than the North American version, and, you know, more equal to the Japanese original. I'm not certain, but I would imagine this game came out on the Super Famicom. Although I've never actually seen it, so I have no idea if this is a North American exclusive or what. Alright. Of course, the Tecmo Theater is included in all of the games. And in case you are wondering, no, this has nothing to do with the modern-day Ninja Gaiden games. The original trilogy and the new Ninja Gaiden trilogy, the Ninja Gaiden Sigma series, they really have as much to do with each other, except for this, have nothing to do with each other except for the fact that they are called Ninja Gaiden and they star Ryu Hayabusa. That's it. A lot of people who are, you know, into the classic Ninja Gaiden games don't like the new games, and vice versa. People who like the new Ninja Gaiden games don't like the original games because, you know, they have Ryu and Irene and all this. Ninja Gaiden 3 is an eye-catching game for a lot of reasons, and on the Super Nintendo, it's just, I don't know, it looks like a Master System game. It's not a criticism against the game, it's just on the Super Nintendo you expect a Super Nintendo game, not a Master System game, you know? It's too bad this game never got ported to the Master System, because it would have been fantastic on the Master System. Ninja Gaiden Trilogy, I mean. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. If you have any questions, let me know, and once again, I'll see you next time. Hate this part.